Hey everyone, welcome back to Interesting Bio Facts, where we uncover the untold stories of history's greatest icons. Today, we will be discussing a woman who defined an era, Marilyn Monroe. She was a symbol of beauty, glamour, and Hollywood's golden age. Yet behind that dazzling smile was a story far more complex than most people realize. Marilyn Monroe was more than a movie star. She was an artist, an intellectual, and a survivor who challenged the industry that tried to control her. Today we'll uncover 10 fascinating facts you probably didn't know about Marilyn Monroe. Make sure to stick around for number 10. It might completely change the way you see her legacy. Let's jump right in. And starting off the list, Marilyn Monroe wasn't her real name. Before she became a global icon, Marilyn was born Norma Jeane Mortensen on June 1st, 1926, in Los Angeles, California. She later took her mother's maiden name, becoming Norma Jeane Baker during her childhood. When she began modeling in the 1940s, a studio executive thought Norma Jeane didn't have that Hollywood sparkle. The name Marilyn came from Broadway star Marilyn Miller, and Monroe was her mother's family name. So in 1946, she officially became Marilyn Monroe, a name that would soon become one of the most famous in the world. But interestingly, it wasn't until 1956, a full decade later, that she legally changed it. For years, Marilyn Monroe was just her stage persona, a reflection of how she lived between two worlds, the woman she was and the legend she became. And at number 2 on the list, she started her career in a factory. Before red carpets and movie premieres, Marilyn worked in a defense factory during World War II. She was just 18 years old when she took a job inspecting parachutes at the Radioplane Munitions Factory in Burbank, California. One day, an Army photographer named David Conover was sent to the factory to take morale-boosting photos of women contributing to the war effort. When he saw Norma Jeane, he told her she should try modeling. That single encounter changed her life. Within months, she was on magazine covers, and before long, Hollywood came calling. It's incredible to think that if not for that one random photograph, the world might never have met Marilyn Monroe. Number 3 on the list, Marilyn was one of the first women to start her own production company. In the 1950s, when studios controlled nearly every aspect of a star's life, Marilyn wanted creative freedom. Tired of being typecast as the dumb blonde, she founded her own production company, Marilyn Monroe Productions, in 1955. This was revolutionary. Very few actors, let alone women, had that kind of independence at the time. Through her company, she negotiated better contracts and fought to play more serious, dramatic roles. One result of this move was her Golden Globe, winning performance in Bus Stop, 1956, which showed audiences a deeper, more emotional side of her talent. Her courage paved the way for other women in Hollywood to demand more control over their careers, from Lucille Ball to Reese Witherspoon. And number 4 on the list, she was an avid reader and owned over 400 books. Despite her blonde bombshell image, Marilyn Monroe was deeply intellectual. She had a personal library of more than 400 books, ranging from literature and philosophy to science and poetry. Titles included Ulysses by James Joyce, The Republic by Plato, and even books by Freud. Friends recalled her reading between takes on film sets, and she even took literature classes at UCLA later in her career. She once said, "I read poetry to save time." It's a poignant reminder that behind the glamour was a woman who sought understanding and self-growth in a world that often underestimated her. And at number 5, Marilyn had an exceptionally high IQ. Believe it or not, Marilyn's IQ was reportedly around 168, higher than that of Albert Einstein. While IQ tests from that era aren't always reliable, what's clear is that Marilyn possessed a remarkable memory and an analytical mind. She could recall scripts line by line, understood lighting and camera work, and often suggested improvements to scenes. Yet she was often dismissed by the press and even her co-stars as just a pretty face. Fact number 5 reminds us that intelligence and beauty are not opposites, and that Marilyn Monroe embodied both in a way that challenged 1950 stereotypes. And number 6 on the list, she struggled with stage fright and anxiety. Even though she seemed confident on screen, Marilyn suffered from crippling anxiety and stage fright. She was notorious for being late to set, sometimes by hours, not because she didn't care, but because she was terrified of making mistakes. Her coach, Paula Strasberg, often had to comfort her before scenes. Director Billy Wilder, who worked with her on Some Like It Hot later, said she would make 100 mistakes, but take 101 was pure magic. Her vulnerability was part of what made her performances feel so real and so human. And with number 7 on the list, she had deep connections to powerful figures. Marilyn's relationships with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy have been the subject of speculation for decades. While much of it remains rumor, what we do know is that Marilyn moved in elite circles. She attended exclusive political and artistic gatherings, and her famous Happy Birthday, Mr. President performance in 1962 remains one of the most talked about moments in American pop culture. These associations showed how Marilyn had become not just a movie star, but a symbol of influence and intrigue at the highest levels of power. And number 8 on the list, she inspired countless artists and movements. From Andy Warhol's iconic Marilyn diptych to Elton John's Candle in the Wind, Monroe's image became one of the most recognizable symbols in modern art. Warhol's 1962 portrait, created after her death, transformed her face into a commentary on fame, consumerism, and tragedy. Over the decades, her likeness has appeared in paintings, fashion, music, and film, turning her into a timeless muse whose impact stretches far beyond Hollywood. Even today, she remains a source of inspiration for artists exploring identity, fame, and femininity. Number 9 on the list, her health struggles were kept secret. Behind the glamour, Marilyn faced serious health challenges. She suffered from endometriosis, a painful condition that caused chronic pain and miscarriages, something she kept private from the public. She also dealt with mental health issues, including depression and insomnia, which were often exacerbated by the pressures of fame and the demands of Hollywood studios. In an era when mental health was taboo, Marilyn's struggles were misunderstood and sensationalized by the media. But understanding this side of her story makes her resilience even more remarkable. And lastly, number 10, her passing sparked one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found passed away in her Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. Her passing fueled decades of conspiracy theories. Some believe it was accidental. Others suspect foul play involving political figures or the Hollywood elite. What's certain is that her passing was that it marked the end of an era and the beginning of her legend. In death, as in life, Marilyn Monroe remained the embodiment of mystery. The woman who wanted to be loved and understood, but was too often idolized instead. Marilyn Monroe was far more than the blonde bombshell that Hollywood wanted her to be. She was intelligent, ambitious, sensitive, and ahead of her time. Through all the myths and gossip, she remains a symbol of human complexity, a reminder that even icons are people, with dreams, fears, and contradictions. As Marilyn once said, "I'm not interested in money, I just want to be wonderful." And she sure was wonderful, and she still is. If you enjoyed this look into the life of Marilyn Monroe, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more fascinating biographies and historical deep dives from interesting biofacts. Which of these facts surprised you most? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the stories behind the legends.